And now, our feature presentation.
To infinity and beyond!
My name's Bond. James Bond.
That'll do, Pig.
Bad boys, what you gonna do?
Show you with the box. Who's in the box?
Damn! Ew! Get off of me! Ugh, I'm
A lot of people go to college for 7 years.
I know. They're called doctors.
Houston, we have a problem.
Houston, we certainly do have that problem. Hello, everyone. Welcome into 52/1995, your live movie conversation podcast, where we dive deep into the movies of 1995. I'm your host, Cody, and I'm thrilled to be joined this week by my fantastic, wonderful co-host, Alyssa. Thank you, Alyssa, for being here.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. And I'm sorry about all the pausing in between there, because I forgot I wrote a line like 4 weeks back about my mother knowing about this podcast, and I just keep forgetting to erase it. But let's not talk about my mom. Let's talk about those who are tuning in for the first time. We're so glad you're here. If you are tuning in for the very first time, each week, 52 of them to be exact, we explore a different film from the year 1995. Why, you may ask? Because it's been 30 years and these films need some love. We're not talking about them anymore. We've got all these newfangled movies that we're talking about. So we're talking about movies from the year 1995. It doesn't matter if they're a classic hit or a quirky gem. We dive into this year's important releases, discuss them in detail, and then chat with my guest about their thoughts and experiences with that movie. Also, we go by themes here, and some of our months are different. We just came out of a romance month. The first month was split into two different categories. I forget what that it was. Bombs, movie bombs from the year 1995, and then video game or game-related movies. But this month, it is, Oscar night here in America, and since we are in the start of Oscar night or whatever, we're doing an Oscar month. The current theme is called "And the Oscar Goes To," where each film that we're discussing was nominated for Best Picture at the 1996 Academy Awards. Today's movie of choice is Sense and Sensibility. So before we jump into that movie, again, let's welcome Alyssa. Alyssa, thank you again for joining us. Have you seen the film that we've been discussing today? Obviously, you've seen it now, but had you seen it before we watched it?
I have not. And I actually, despite how I look and who I am, I've never gotten into Jane Austen. So this was my first experience with Jane Austen. Even though I loved reading growing up, and at one point wanted to be an English teacher, I attempted to read Pride and Prejudice 3 times. And got bored every time. But I've never watched any of the movies, never read any of her books. So this was a first in a lot of categories for myself, which it's not shocking that I haven't seen the movie, but it is shocking that this is my first Jane Austen situation.
It is a little shocking. I think most people have seen Pride and Prejudice, and I know that you own the Pride and Prejudice, the PBS Masterpiece Theater version of the Pride and Prejudice, I think,
Yes.
with Colin Firth.
Yes, and someone lent me that DVD in college, and that was it was probably 11 or 12 years ago at this point. So, and I still haven't watched it. It's just in my home now. So it's just I haven't made the time to sit down and watch it.
Dust that off and watch that soon.
Mhm.
So, okay, you've never experienced any Jane Austen. You've never read any Jane Austen. What was your first impression?
I loved it. I genuinely loved it. Based just from what we've seen, even in just like the last year, but also in her entire filmography, Emma Thompson is dope. Like she like does no wrong ever. It's always fun to see Alan Rickman pop up, because in my mind he is Snape. So seeing him as something other than Snape is always very fun. Very young Kate Winslet. Like I was like, and of course, what's his name? Edward. What is
Oh, Hugh Grant. Sorry.
Hugh Grant? I'd like Hugh Grant as a human, maybe not so much, but as a actor, I always enjoy. He kind of plays the same guy.
Hmm.
Because I thought a lot about Sirens when we were watching this, and like, yeah, this is just the same dude in a different country in a different time era. Or would it be, yeah, a different era, right?
Yeah.
So, but I was like, it's just the same awkward, sort of rich, sort of not clergyman.
I think this is our
So
third. This is our third Hugh Grant movie: Four Weddings and a
yes,
Funeral, Sirens,
mhm.
and then this one. And then this is our third Emma Thompson movie too. Remains of the Day, Junior, which you can count it if you want, and then this one.
I mean, I loved her in Junior. I mean, Junior was something, but her character and her role and her part in Junior was my favorite of the whole movie. She was my standout. So, as ridiculous and insane as that movie was, and even though you gave it a 5-star review, I put her in it. Put Emma Thompson in everything, in my
Yeah.
opinion.
No, we loved Emma Thompson. We love Emma Thompson. But would you like to see this remade? If they,
I would watch it.
yeah,
I
any iteration of this?
Probably. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, well, so this you've asked me this before, like earlier, like this week when we watched the movie, and you're like, "Do you like movies like this?" And I'm like, "Oh, to be honest, I never got in I've seen Bridgerton. I've seen the first season of Bridgerton, and that's like the only other kind of media I can think of outside of a Jane Austen novel or movie. Um, but I like it's like it's interesting, but it's not something I'm drawn to. But every time I watch something like this, a period piece,
Hmm.
I enjoy it. So I guess I do like movies like this. I liked Little Women when we watched that just like what 2 months ago, 3 months
Hmm.
ago at this point. I enjoyed it, but knowing how much I like Greta Gerwig, I really want to see the 2019 one. Um, I think it is kind of hard to do period pieces now with this is a topic that we discuss often is that Hollywood is too good looking. I need less
Hmm.
good looking. I need more normal looking people in Hollywood. And I feel like when you try to do a period piece when everyone has lip filler, like and get lip filler, do you. That's fantastic if that's what you want. But like watching a period piece with someone who has lip filler is very uncomfy. So I'm like, I need more like Alan Rickman looking people to play these parts. So
Well, that's an
that being said, I
interesting.
had a hard time. That being said, I had a very hard time recasting for 2025, but I absolutely would watch it, and I want Greta Gerwig to direct it.
Yeah. I would. I know you are a sucker for a modern retelling of this. I think you could probably do a modern retelling of Sense and Sensibility or Pride and Prejudice. Obviously, we've seen a couple like Pride and Prejudice. I think Fire Island was a modern retelling of Pride and
Okay,
Prejudice.
I thought you meant like a remake, not like a
Well,
modern
no, no, no. I
retelling.
meant a remake. But I'm
Okay.
saying I know that you like these type of movies now,
Yes,
and I
I
think that
love I like Shakespeare, like 10 Things I Hate About You. She's the Man. Motocrossed, which is one of
yeah.
my favorite Disney Channel original movie, Motocrossed, based on Twelfth Night, Shakespeare's Twelfth Night.
Hmm.
Love even freaking Warm Bodies is a modern is an apocalyptic zombie retelling of Romeo and Juliet. I
Hmm.
love stuff like that. I would kill for a modern Sense and Sensibility. I don't exactly know how it would go,
Hmm.
mostly because, um, and I think Pride and Prejudice did it really. I mean, like you said, Fire Island. Fire Island was fantastic. Um, but yeah, I loved Fire. I think I gave that a 4-star.
Yeah.
Um, but I don't like because so much of Jane Austen is um, wealth and
Hmm.
lack of women's wealth and having to be married off to be wealthy, and when your husband dies you are screwed, and like the social politics of it all. I did see a meme, and I wish I wrote it down before. I said to myself I was going to write it down before I came in, but it was like Jane Austen knew that the real horrors of this world were having to listen to a man who thinks he's smarter than you. And I was like, that is all of Jane Austen's. So, but yeah, I don't know. I mean, I would absolutely watch it.
Yeah.
The short version of that answer.
I think you could absolutely do something with it. One thing I was going to tag on to what you said about like modern Hollywood is too good looking. Interesting that you said that, because Hugh Grant was considered too good looking for the role that he was in, because and obviously there's some casting choices in this movie that have strayed very far from the book, but his character in the book is supposed to be very like not even like super plain looking.
Mhm.
And Hugh Grant just isn't that. He was considered like, really hot at this time. So
Oh, Hugh
uh,
Grant is a very handsome man.
but
Absolutely.
it's interesting because the same complaints almost like, oh, we cast too good looking of a man in this role.
Well, we also
Um,
had we discussed this, some age issues in this
yeah.
movie, because Emma Thompson is, or her character is, Eleanor is supposedly 19, and
Mm-hmm.
Emma Thompson is in her late 20s, is she in her early 30s when
I think she's 35.
she's 35 playing a 19-year-old.
Yeah.
Um, Alan Rickman's character in the book is 35,
Mm-hmm.
and in real life he was 45
Yeah,
when he was.
he's up there. He's 45, maybe 50. I don't remember what his
Mhm.
how old he actually was. No, I think he was in his 40s.
Yeah, and then Kate Winslet was probably the
She's
only
the closest, yeah.
properly. Yeah, she was 20 playing a 17-year-old, so that was probably the closest to at least appropriate age. But
Yeah.
yeah, it's just, I'm like, like, what is the age of everyone in this movie?
Yeah,
And
for
I like
real.
looked up what the ages were in the book. I was like, what the hell? So it was, yeah, there were some choices made. I mean, I loved the casting of this movie.
Yeah.
I enjoyed every character. I enjoyed every performance. I would not necessarily recast anyone, but I'm still going to complain about it.
Yeah, that's fine. So while we're, complaining about things, let's veer off and talk about the movie and explain what the movie is for those that may not have seen it or want to know a little bit more facts about it. So the title of this movie is called Sense and Sensibility. It was released on December 13th, 1995. It was directed by Ang Lee. I think we last saw Ang Lee when we talked about Eat. Now I'm
Eat,
confused.
Drink, Man, Woman.
I think I think Eat, Drink, Man, Woman is an Ang Lee movie. Yes, so we talked about him last year. We actually didn't talk about his 1993 movie, The Wedding Banquet, which is actually being remade this year. Comes out this year. So we need to watch The Wedding Banquet, both versions.
Is that the 3-part? Or no,
Yes.
that's the
Yeah.
3-part movie.
Well, it's the one that all the dad from Eat,
Mhm.
Drink, Man, Woman is in The Wedding Banquet as a father in that one. It's like he plays the same, or like a dad in
Same
all of
type
them.
of character.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
okay.
But like Bowen Yang is going to be in this new movie,
Oh, I'm
The
in.
Wedding Banquet. Yeah, it's
I
going to be
love
great.
Bowen Yang.
Yeah, he's great. Emma Thompson wrote this screenplay. Of course, it's based on the novel by Jane Austen. The cast includes, I'm going to name them all, so bear with me here. Emma Thompson as Eleanor Dashwood, Hugh Grant as Edward Ferrars, Kate Winslet as Marianne Dashwood, Alan Rickman as Colonel Brandon, Imogen Stubbs as Lucy Steele, Greg Wise as John Willoughby, Gemma Jones as Mrs. Dashwood, Harriet Walter as Fanny Dashwood, James Fleet as John Dashwood, Hugh Laurie, Dr. House, as Mr. Palmer, Imelda Staunton, Umbridge, as Charlotte Palmer, Robert Hardy as Sir John Middleton, Elizabeth Spriggs as Mrs. Jennings, Tom Wilkinson, barely in this movie, as Mr. Dashwood, Emily Francois as Margaret Dashwood, and finally Richard Lumsden as Robert Ferrars, the youngest brother, I believe. He's younger, maybe. Anyway, the synopsis for this movie is: when Eleanor Dashwood's father dies, her family's finances are crippled. After the Dashwoods move to a cottage in Devonshire, Eleanor's sister Marianne is torn between the handsome John Willoughby and the older Colonel Brandon. Meanwhile, Eleanor's romantic hopes with Edward Ferrars are hindered due to his prior engagement. Both Eleanor and Marianne strive for love while the circumstances in their lives constantly change. The budget for this movie, it was only $16 million, And the box office return for this movie is $135 million. So this movie was considered a hit. And I can't imagine that you would get that kind of return on something like that nowadays. Period drama, like I just do not think that you would get that. But
I really think that the modern day version of this is Bridgerton, is that you have to sex it up, for lack of a better term. Like Bridgerton is very sexy. And there is also modern music. It's Vitamin String Quartet is playing modern day covers that sound like very Baroque-esque. It's like just these beautiful violin strings of Neo's "Give Me Everything Tonight." That is one of them.
Yeah.
That is one of the songs from the most recent season. But like Bridgerton's a huge hit. But you have to do it in you're not going to get it in a movie form. You have to get it in a series. You're not going to get it on a big screen. It's going to be direct to streaming.
Yeah.
That's how you're going to get a hit in this type of scenario. I feel like, because that's
Right.
that's what people do now.
The thing about Jane Austen though is like the lack of thereof of sex, and therefore makes it almost more sexy. It's like Remains of, I mean, we bring up Emma Thompson, we bring up Remains of the Day a lot, but like that movie's super, like there's a very sexy scene and nobody kisses ever in that movie.
No, there's a lot of tension. There's a difference between, yeah, it's implied, it's tension. It's like the will they, won't they. Yeah, Bridgerton is they're gonna, and you're gonna watch it.
Yeah.
It is on the screen.
It's interesting. So this movie has a Rotten Tomatoes score of 97%. I don't know if that's our highest yet.
Might be.
It might be. IMDb has this at a 7.7, and Letterboxd has this at a 3.8 out of 5. Roger Ebert gave this kind of a lower score. I am voting that his is the negative score. That's what Rotten Tomatoes has it as anyway. But he said Sense and Sensibility is an enjoyable film, and yet it left me somehow unsatisfied. I liked the wit. I liked the charm of the actors. I enjoyed the way that Rickman chewed his role as if he wanted to make it last, and the tension when Grant's Edward is made to suffer, particularly since he appears to be a cad only because he had tried to do the right thing. And I appreciated the way Thompson's Eleanor kept her character's face carefully expressionless as she negotiated scenes in which some knew her secrets and others did not. He gave it 2.5 out of 4 stars, so a little bit higher than his.
I wonder if he was dissatisfied with the ending. Because you and I had, well, we'll get to that. We'll get, no spoilers. 30-year-old movie, 100-something-year-old book. Because we had discussed maybe an alternative ending, and maybe that's what he was hoping for, and was upset that he didn't get it.
Yeah. The legacy for this movie, because again, it is Oscar night, and this is Oscar month. This movie was nominated for 7 Academy Awards: Best Picture, Best Actress for Emma Thompson, Best Supporting Actress for Kate Winslet, Best Adapted Screenplay, which is the only one that it won. So Emma Thompson got her second Oscar. She got one previously. 2 years prior to this, or 3 years prior to this, for movies she was in as an actress. Best cinematography, best costume design, and best original dramatic score. This movie is also a part of AFI's 100 Years, 100 Passions, the most romantic movies. And then it's been there's been a couple adaptations of this movie. And numerous Jane Austen adaptations. 2008, Andrew Davies, the screenwriter of Pride and Prejudice, adapted Sense and Sensibility for television. As a reaction to what he said was Lee's overly sentimental film, this production features events found in the novel but excluded from Thompson's screenplay, such as Willoughby's seduction of Eliza and his duel with Colonel Brandon. It also features actors closer to the ages in the source material. So a couple things that we missed that showed up in that. Kind of felt like Andrew Davies was taking a swipe at Emma Thompson and Ang Lee for this movie, but I enjoyed the heck out of this movie. So
yeah, I don't think we missed much.
No,
like Willoughby is a very minor character.
Even in the duel with Brandon, neither one of them, like, there are no shots fired at each other. Like, they throw away their shots, I guess.
Yeah, I don't think that's going to sway my opinion of the characters. I don't think that's like I don't think I need it. There was a lot more that was filmed, it sounds like, from like reading some of the fun facts, that they had to cut quite a bit to make it the amount of time that it was. So I'm like, I
Yeah.
wouldn't want this any longer. I mean, I think it flew by. It was 2 hours, right?
Yeah,
And
right at
but
2 hours.
it felt like it flew by. It didn't feel like
Mhm.
it was a dragging 2 hour. Like The Age of Innocence was 2 hours, and we hit the hour mark, and I was like, are you kidding? Like, and so this was like it was paced really well, and I'm like, I can't think of anything to add.
Yeah, I agree with you. I'm one that often complain about length, and this one just felt right. When you have a perfectly paced movie, you have the right amount of like scenes that drive the story. You have good characters, you have good writing, clever writing. I think it just makes a solid movie that you can put up for 2.5, 3 hours if you need to. So, um, no, I think it was a perfect length. So, but let's
Mhm.
talk about the movie. Let's jump into our discussion. Let's talk about some of the scenes that really stood out to you.
It's funny. This movie is the main characters are Eleanor and Marianne and the ladies. But all of my scenes are broken down by the dudes.
That's so funny. I did the exact same thing.
So my first scene is Edward comes to visit.
Hmm.
So it's just we've already been introduced to the characters. We know that Eleanor and Marianne's father has passed away. Isn't able to leave his estate to anyone but his son from a previous marriage. Because that's his son. It always goes down to the son. The son is not going to help financially. They have to move out. There's all this stuff. But the son's brother-in-law, so only related by marriage, comes to visit, and he immediately takes a liking to our protagonist, our spinster eldest daughter at the ripe age of 19, Eleanor. So getting to watch them interact with one another, seeing how well he interacts with the youngest sister. Was it Margaret? What's the youngest one's last name?
I believe that's right, Margaret.
Uh-huh.
Yes.
Um, Getting to, yeah, and then seeing the sister get increasingly pissed that he is even considering interacting with this poor woman.
Fanny.
But
Fanny sucks.
Fanny, I was literally flipping off the TV
She
because
did.
Fanny sucked that much.
Every time she came on, she was just like,
I mean, talk about hateable. Like that actress nailed it. Like I was like, I hate Fanny. Um, and her hair was weird. Hated that.
was it the bangs?
No, it was the weird curls. Like it was just like a perfect circles on the side of her head. And I'm like, that sucks. Um, yeah, it was just meeting Edward. Edward comes to
Yeah.
visit. We get introduced to him. We think something's gonna happen. Like they're gonna fall in love. He's gonna propose. It's gonna be great. And it's cut too short because it's time for them to move.
Yeah, I like the scene as well, or the scenes, I guess, with them. I also like in between scenes where they are hanging out together. Like Marianne is asking Eleanor about this. Like, do you love him? And she's like, I like him. She wants to say everything but the word love because she doesn't want to. She knows that this is not, they're about to move, and
She doesn't want to get ahead of herself.
yeah, she didn't want to get ahead of herself. And I think like they have a moment where she thinks that maybe he's going to propose to her before they leave, and he starts telling her about his education, and it kind of gets
Yeah.
cut off because he has to go.
Yeah, they're like, you have to leave now. It's like,
Yeah.
okay.
And that's a little heartbreaking, but you expect it when you see a role like Hugh Grant is perfect at these kind of roles where
He's so good at being awkward.
yes, and stuttering. He is the perfect British stutterer, I think. And
Agreed.
really not getting to the point of anything. He did it so well. He does it well in Sirens. He does it so well in Four Weddings and a Funeral. But then he has this way of just like being super charming at the same time. It's a unique thing. It's a unique talent that he has. And maybe that's just Hugh Grant, especially a younger Hugh Grant, because he's kind of an asshole now, I've heard.
Yeah.
So.
Oh, he's like constantly joking. Like he's like making little quips here and there, always making Eleanor laugh. Like the character is very cute. It is he like you said, very charming. And even the sister mentions that at one point, like, he makes a lot of women fall in love with him just because of how he presents himself. And The money doesn't help. It doesn't hurt either. But
Yeah. So what's your next one?
getting introduced to Brandon and Willoughby.
Yeah.
Because they're
I had
within like a couple days of each other.
Yeah, I had actually just a little bit before, just because I wanted to mention them, but they will come up later. But being introduced to Sir John and Mrs. Jennings, who provide them with a home, the women with a home to stay in, they are outrageous people, I would say.
Insane.
Very catty, is a great way to describe them.
Well, this is a common character in the Jane Austen universe, is an old woman who has nothing but time on her hands, so therefore all she wants to do is meddle and gossip and play matchmaker because she's
Yes.
bored, and they even call her out on it in the movie. Like they are insane. Like what's the couple
Some of
of
the funnier
hens?
parts. Yeah, a
What's
couple
the
of what when I told you that you guys sound like a couple of hens at a quilting bee.
Yeah, there are a couple of hens at a quilting bee.
That's exactly it. They're just
Yapping.
catty. Just yapping. Jennings and John are the best part of the movie. I mean, I enjoyed them. They were annoying. Like they were appropriately annoying at the right time. Some of the things that
They
they said
gave
were
me
so funny though.
they gave me chest pain in the way that watching The Office gives me chest pain. Like they're both hilarious, but it's also like a cringe, and you're like, no, don't do it, Michael Scott.
Yeah, they said a couple things, in trying to pry information out of Eleanor and the girls about Ferris, and had they known some more information about Ferris, they might not have introduced the other character that we get introduced to later, and so it's all just fun stuff, fun stuff there. So talk about Colonel Brandon and Willoughby.
Yeah, so because the girls get to live in this cottage on Sir John's property, they get to meet the neighbors, basically. And one of the neighbors is Colonel Brandon, played by Alan Rickman, supposed to be an older gentleman, not as old as he is, but he's supposed to be 35. Went to fought in the wars and is a friend of Sir John's, and they're like, oh, like Colonel Brandon they even say his age is a little more appropriate for Eleanor, but he seems to take a liking to Mary Anne. And we find out eventually that he had a lover in the past when he was when he was very, very young, probably when he was like 18 or so. She was poor. Their parents found out, forced them to separate. This girl that went through a horrible time and eventually passes away. So he's heartbroken essentially, but he's very much attracted to headstrong, artsy women, and that is Marianne's character. So he's very attracted to her. Marianne's just like, yeah, he's just an old dude who thinks I'm cute and I don't really care about him.
Well, it doesn't help that the next day she gets introduced to another man.
Gets introduced to Willoughby, who is another neighbor who is younger and handsome. And Marianne is very much of the arts. She loves reading Shakespeare sonnets, and she is like obsessed with romance and the idea of romance. And that's why she kind of picks on Emma Thompson's character for liking Hugh Grant. He's boring. Like he's amiable is what she calls him. She's like, he's all right. Like, but he's like, but the way he reads, he read those sonnets out loud and he was so bad at it. She's like, I don't care how badly he reads sonnets. Like, that's not what I'm looking for. And Marianne's like, you need someone with like passion and fervor. And then in comes Willoughby, young and stupid and hot. And she carries her wedding style in the rain because she twists her ankle, and she's immediately fallen for him so quickly.
He's got those sideburns that accent his cheekbones perfectly.
Some contour. He's got some contour going on.
Some hairy contour. I knew a guy in high school. His name was Harry Contour. It's crazy.
No, you don't.
Nah, you're right. I didn't.
Harry Contour is an awful name. I'm trying to be less gullible.
Mr. and Mrs. Contour's boy. So Willoughby comes in and he kind of sweeps Marianne off her feet, and they're just going for it. Like he's a part of the family. He makes fun of Colonel Brandon.
And Brandon respectfully takes a step back. He's like, Marianne, he's like, first of all, I didn't think Marianne would be into me anyway because I'm a lot older, but she's clearly into this Willoughby guy. I'm gonna respect that. I'm gonna take a step back. I'm still gonna be,
Friend of the
around. I'm
family. Yeah.
still friend of the family. Like if they have an issue, I'd love to help them out. But he's like he respectfully bows out, invites both Willoughby, Marianne, and the family over for a picnic. Like there's a lot. It's amicable. So yeah, we get introduced, and we're getting a taste of all of these men's personalities in this story that really focuses on the women.
And then when you bring up that picnic, that's kind of what drives the rest of the story, because they go over to the picnic at Colonel Brandon's house, and he has to leave immediately. You don't know why, you don't know what's going on, but he has to leave, and he basically leaves all his guests to do the picnic themselves. Willoughby shows up even and kind of, takes Marianne with him, and Marianne believes that the following day, that she's going to be proposed to. And we leave, Marianne and Willoughby alone for a little bit, and come back, and she is crying. Willoughby storms out of their house, not like angry or anything, but storms out of the house and goes to London, and we don't know why either. So we just have two mysterious events happen that really drive our story and leave poor Marianne in the dust, and leave us with a lot of questions as the viewer, like, what the hell just happened? Like,
Yes, and it's never really explained what happened. Like even when we do find out what happened, not really. But it's so crazy to me that the mom was like, she'll tell us when she's ready, and I'm like, my mom would be banging down my door, like, what the fuck just happened? Like,
yeah.
like there is no like having a secret or not tell it, which is I don't know, maybe that's my own family, but like. Yeah,
But you'd be
my
concerned, like if you're feeling melancholy, you think that, I expect your mom
yeah,
or our parents to bang down the door and be like, what the hell is wrong with you? Let's fix this. Let's
are you okay? Right? Clearly you're not, but like what's happening so I can understand your emotions. Like, yeah, if my mom and sister walked into me and the person I'm supposed to marry having a drop dead fight where I am sobbing and they are storming out, and then we just leave it at that. I'm like, okay.
But I don't think she knows either. I don't think Marianne knows in the moment
True.
exactly what's happening and why he has to go and all this stuff. I think she
I'm
gets
going
kind
to
of
London. That's it. I
yeah,
think that's what happened. He's like, I'm going to London. Bye.
his mother calls him to London or whatever. He's like, I
I
have to
think
go.
his aunt.
That's what it is.
Because he lives on his aunt's estate during the summer, because eventually when his aunt passes, it's going to go to him because she doesn't have any sons.
Yes. So we've met all our men in this movie. We've pretty much met all the characters except for probably Lucy. I think her name's Lucy, that we eventually meet, Lucy Steele. She comes along at the next part when Mrs. Jennings is like, hey, I'm going to London. I'm going to take you girls with me. That way you can meet you can go see your Willoughby, and maybe your Mr. F will be there, Eleanor, that we keep, joking about. And we'll take Lucy with us too, because she is we find out engaged in secret to Edward Ferrars, the person that Eleanor is in love with.
Yes, I broke it. It was like going to London, and it was broken down with Willoughby sucks, Marianne gets sick, Edward has a fiance.
Yeah,
that's how I broke down going to London, because
I have the ball, I have Marianne gets sick, and then I have the ending.
Yeah. We get a lot of information in London. That's when it all comes together. And it really did all come together. I feel like sometimes when you're watching or when I'm watching some of these like slower paced or dramas, I'm like, wait, what? Like, it's not as like plot twisty as I want it to be. I really didn't expect Edward to have a fiance, nor did I expect it to be this Lucy character. And poor Emma Thompson is just wrecked the entire time.
And that is one thing that I agree with about Roger Ebert's review, is like the fact that Emma Thompson has to hold it, like Eleanor, the character, has to hold it together through all of this, while her sister is complaining about this lost love of Willoughby. She has this girl telling her about her lost love, and Edward, who is the person that she's in love with, and has to hear this and has to do it so stone-faced and not emote at all. I think that she, like, she's amazing. The Eleanor
Mhm.
character is amazing.
Yes,
And
it
Emma
is.
Thompson is so good at it.
Yes, it is like the eldest daughter trope. It is, the spinster. I mean, I said this to you, and I stand by it. Is that I feel like Sense and Sensibility is Little Women if the eldest sister Meg from Little Women was the main character.
Yeah.
I said because Joe and Marianne have a lot of similarities with wanting like something bigger and wanting, romance, and not in the sense of maybe love, but just like the romance of life. And the oldest daughter, there's a lot to do with honor and duty and keeping your word, keeping your promise, doing what you're supposed to do, not what your heart tells you to do. And there's a lot. There's a lot that I saw a lot of comparisons there, but it's like I feel like Sense and Sensibilities if Meg
Yeah.
is the main character from Little Women.
I agree. So what is your next? I know you said Willoughby sucks. Is
So
that the ball?
yes, we go to the ball. We find Marianne, as soon as she gets to London, is sending letters to Willoughby over and over in the middle of the night, which is
Middle of the night.
scandalous.
Scandalous, definitely.
Very scandalous. And I'm like, okay. But, they go to the ball and Willoughby's there. She sees him, goes up to him. She goes, "Have you gotten any of my letters?" And he's like very cold to her, like kind of talking to her like he really doesn't know her. She's deeply upset. And then we find out that he is um engaged, is betrothed, promised to this other woman who has a 50,000 pound dowry. And so Marianne, who is poor, who does not have any dowry, I don't think, is devastated because the man that she loves chose money over romance, and it just left her in the dust, really embarrassed her in front of all these people. Like it was a tough watch.
Yeah.
I think Kate Winslet did a great job too with her acting in this.
Yeah, I think this is her second biggest movie. We didn't watch the one last year that she was in because couldn't find it on streaming anywhere. But Heavenly Creatures, she was in a Peter Jackson film, and was got a lot of praise for that. And then this is her next biggest thing. And then this kind of leads us into her kind of Titanic comes after this. I'm sure she starts filming Titanic right after for the next couple years and really explodes on the scene. She's fantastic. I think everybody is really good in this movie. Really doing it. Speaking of that $50,000 or pound dowry, I'm sure you have this in your notes as well, but that would be equivalent a little over $4 million. It was 4 million and 20 or 4 million pounds. It was 4 million pounds in 2021, so about 4 years removed from that. Probably 4.5 million pounds.
I did not have that information, so that's good.
Yeah, so that's why he goes to be with that girl. Is it's a lot of money to get to inherit.
Yeah. In the year of our Lord 2025, I do not blame him.
Yeah,
we got bills to pay, and my dowry is student debt.
I didn't even read. We had a more positive review for this movie. I never even read it.
Well, we started talking, so that's
we just kept going. Yeah, Marjorie Baumgartner did like this film. She said it was absorbing, delightful, and nuanced with laugh out loud humor. And though it often plays events broadly where you might have preferred subtlety, it's not a movie that could have settled for muffled silence. So I like that too. So
I did like that.
Marjorie Baumgartner. Yeah, love that. Exactly. If somebody had $4 million or 4 million pounds, they could take care of my student loan debt easy. Take care of that. So yeah, we find out at the ball, all that stuff happens where she finds this out. She's devastated, probably crying for the next hour of this movie.
Yes. Well, then she runs in the rain to his estate to just scream sonnets into the rain and catch a cold. And I was like, can you believe just standing out in the rain can kill you at this point in time in Jane Austen era? You just stand outside a little too long and that can mean death.
And then, that's why your parents always tell you to put on a coat.
Exactly.
Or, you're going to catch pneumonia if you're playing outside and it's, you're sweating and it gets too cold. That's what's going to happen to you. So, they know something.
So Marianne is sick as a dog. And she also, again, doesn't Colonel Brandon, like, don't they call upon Colonel Brandon? Like, I can't find her. She's missing. He goes out and searches for her, and he carries her bridal style in the rain to save her ass, like the way Willoughby did before with her ankle. But we have a multiple day, like, we think she's gonna die. Like, the doctor says, be prepared.
Yeah,
Like,
they do everything.
and
They like do bloodletting.
ooh, that was tough. That was, I
Yeah,
forget that that's a thing. And it's just like, ooh, like, I didn't like
a
that.
very ineffective thing that they used to do back in the day. That
Yeah, never worked.
no, if anything, it probably hurt them a lot more. But
That's,
yeah,
well, yes. That killed people.
mhm.
That is how this works.
But miraculously, the day that her mom shows up, she gets better. And it is kind of like, this is very Little Women-esque,
Mhm.
where I forget which Meg, Beth, Joe, I don't know which
Beth.
one it is. Is it Beth? Yeah, Meg is the oldest. Beth gets sick, and then her mom shows up and makes her all better after the scarlet fever incident and everything.
And this is also after Eleanor like has a very like soliloquy type scene where she is just kind of begging Marianne to stay alive in the middle of the night. And that was like, ooh, that one got me. That was good.
That was good. So she ends up surviving. She thanks Colonel Brandon for basically saving her life, getting her out of the rain and everything. And then as she recovers, he continues to visit her, and they fall in like with each other, I think.
Yeah, I think she takes way more kindly to him because I think she realizes that romance, and she, between the heartbreak and, Colonel Brandon did the same. I think she was like conscious for that, where he picked her up and took her home. Like, romance isn't just about these big sweeping gestures. It's also the person who stays with you when you're on your deathbed. Like, when it's, yes, it's both. It can be both. It's this person who is a constant rather than, it's like a candle being lit rather than a firework. Firework is big and loud and bold, but it goes away in 2 seconds. A candle is a little more subtle, but it stays lit longer.
Yeah, I like that. Colonel Brandon's our candle.
I'm Jane Austen.
You are Jane Austen. All right, what's your next one?
And well, yeah, we briefly touched on it, but we find out Edward has a fiance. It is Lucy, the other girl that got brought along on this London trip. They've been engaged for 5 years, but they only see each other like twice a year. And she's like obsessed with him. And we find out pretty quickly that he was like, oh shit, like, I should not have done that.
He was a young
and
man.
He was like, I was young, I was dumb, I didn't know what to do. But their engagement has been a secret this entire time because I also believe that she doesn't have much of it. She has a dowry, but not a fancy one, not a 50,000 pounds one. So there's some, and they've kept that a secret for this whole time. And Lucy confides in Emma Thompson with her secret. Poor Emma Thompson is just having a time, having to deal with this. Edward shows up specifically to see Eleanor, and Lucy happens to be there. And she's like, hey,
what up?
Have you met Lucy? You ass. Like, and she really does keep it together. And he looks like he's seen a ghost, and they talk it out a little bit. And I think Eleanor has really just kind of like resided herself. She's like, you'll always have my friendship. And they can't even look at each other. I loved that scene when he comes to basically apologize to Eleanor for not outwardly saying, hey, I'm engaged, or I'm betrothed to someone. And
but you do find out he was trying to tell her.
Yes, he was, and she realized it, but again, they got cut off. But they can't even look at, both of them are like sitting next to each other, like the way that like the scene is shot. I say you're more interested in that than I am, but like I thought it was so good looking, like so beautifully shot, like how far back the camera was, the two of them in their chairs, and they are looking down. They're basically looking at each other's feet, but it's still so emotional and so tense. And I'm like, this is a really good scene. Like they both killed it.
Yeah, great blocking in that scene. That's one thing I've seen.
Blocking. Okay.
Blocking, yeah. I've looked up a little some new Instagram accounts that just talk about blocking and how important it is and what directors do with it. It's fascinating stuff that I never, if I were trying to create something like that, would never, ever, ever know how to do any of that. I'm just like, stand there and shoot. But no, they think about every little thing like that. And
Yeah. Well, yeah, I guess that's something in, as I come from a dance background. That's something in choreography that's really important. And obviously, like things like like where people are placed on stage, whether it's a live play or a movie, is choreography in a sense. So it makes sense.
yeah. And after, I mean, this happens a little bit before Marianne gets sick, that scene. But at the end of this movie, Marianne gets better, and Colonel Brandon is with her a lot and reading to her, and she, likes the affection that she's getting, and she's starting to feel safe with him and comfortable with him. And they, like I said, it's a candle. He's a candle.
Yes.
But then Ferris returns one day, and that's like my last thing that I have.
Yes, they do make it. They do come home from London.
Mm-hmm.
So all this finale wrapping things up is happening back at the cottage, and yeah, like the girls are all hanging out, and they're like, "Oh, Colonel Brandon seems to be riding his horse down the driveway," and they're like, "That's not Colonel Brandon, that is Ferris," and they're like, "Ah!" And they all like run in the house and they're freaking out, and Edward, shows up and he's like, "Hello," and they're like, "Hello," and they're like, "We'll leave you two alone," and Emma Thompson's just like, because she is under the impression that they are married. Gossip spreads, and she heard that a Mr. Ferris got married to a Lucy Steele, and she's like, "Well, it must be Edward," and we find out very quickly that Lucy left Edward for his older brother. Weird. And Edward professes his love to Eleanor, Emma Thompson, and she just has a full mental, like, this is she has been holding in these tears for about a year. It feels like, I'm not sure what the timeline of this movie is, but like from the moment that she and Ferris had to say goodbye to, and then finding out about his engagement, seeing him again, having Marianne go through her heartbreak, having her almost die, she finally allows herself to break down, and she is just openly sobbing while this man is professing his love to her, and he proposes, and everyone lives happily ever after. Eleanor and Edward get married, and Marianne and Colonel Brandon get married. That was a fun little surprise.
Yeah, that was nice, and I liked it. And everybody is happy. It's, I think we'll probably talk about what we thought was going to happen, but yeah, that was the end of the movie. And everybody's happy in the end, except for Willoughby. Good riddance.
Yeah, that in the rain, a single tear, watching on as Marianne gets married to someone so much better than him.
Yeah,
and as I was like, he will regret you every day, is what they kept saying, and it sounds like they're right.
Yeah. All right, who's your favorite character, or were there some scene stealers that you wanted to talk about?
My favorite character was actually Colonel Brandon. He grew on me. I enjoyed the hell out of him. I liked his background story. Like, I liked, that he, had he is a romantic, but he's kind of a, hard on the outside now because of, love the chat. We're like, will it not be? But yeah, he was my scene stealer. I really, anytime he was on stage, I was like, yeah, he's back. Like, I really liked him.
Yeah, it was nice to see him show up. We're so used to Alan Rickman being Snape from, Harry Potter, or the bad guy from Die Hard, that we're not used to him being seen as a romantic
cheating
lead.
On Emma Thompson in Love Actually.
Yeah, we see him kind of like in these more villainous, like half villainous roles. And it's nice to see, a probably classically trained actor, act in something like this, a romantic movie where he gets to be, a romantic part of this. It was refreshing to watch him be in this. So I agree with you. I had him. He was like my second favorite character. I had two other scene stealers, but Eleanor, I think, is my favorite character overall. I just think she's incredible. Like the character of Eleanor, basically having to hold everything together was just,
running the household, even like working with their budget, because they didn't have much money, and she's like, we can't eat beef, and the mom's like, why can't we eat beef? She's like, because we're poor, mom. Like she has to keep it together for everybody.
Yeah, I think that I just like that character a lot.
Hmm.
The scene stealers I have though, I had Mrs. Jennings and Sir
Sir
John. They
John.
should probably go back together. I also wanted to mention Mr. Palmer as being a scene stealer because every
House
time a man completely that man hates his wife,
hates his
uh,
life.
hates his life. He's so just but kind of content with where he is in his life. I actually he has like a ton of like one-liners after his wife says things. He'll come back with something really snippy and
Oh yeah, it's like
funny.
I can't believe we can see his house from his estate from our hill. I'll have the gardener plant really tall trees. You will do no such thing.
Yeah, I love that. But even in the like, he even has some moments when Marianne gets sick. He carries Marianne also, and like feels like it almost feels like vindicated. He feels like
Yeah.
wanted and necessary and needed by this
Yeah.
family.
He even
Uh,
said, he's like, do you want me to stay? And she's like, You don't have to. Like, go home. You're good. Like, we
yeah,
got Colonel Brandon. He's like, okay. I do love like they're the good men in this movie. Like again, this
yeah,
movie's about the women, but we've seen it so often where the men just aren't good. Like again, we are opened with their half brother, their older brother, their half brother. Um, After promising his dying father that he would financially support his stepmom and sisters, just doesn't just a piece of garbage. Willoughby also
garbage.
garbage. Like
Sir
people
John,
gossip.
even a little bit
Certain
garbage. Yeah,
yeah, just kind of like but so you get to see these like good people and you're just like thank God
yeah,
like someone help these people out like because I don't again this is me just reading far too much into these stories but I'm like they have nothing, they have
mhm.
nothing. Your husband dies and you have like you're dead.
They
You
get
good luck eating and finding shelter and like you might as well like you have to rely on the help of family and strangers, and they do have that. It's kind of like a relief in a way.
yeah, and I think they get like what 500 pounds. I think the total is 500 pounds a year, and that's it.
Yes.
Like that's what they got to their name, 500 pounds a year, and they have to make that work.
Yes, that's
Thankfully, they have some
rent. That's
family, and that takes
mhm.
Sir John and Mrs. Jennings graciously let them stay there, and even sucks that they have to suffer through the gossip and all that stuff.
I'll
But
say no such
you know,
thing as a free meal. They get to stay at that cottage for free, but they
that's
are
right.
the subject of all of the gossip and the poking jokes and the Mr. F and the ooh like the it's annoying.
Yeah, it is. Um, Speaking of some of the lines that we were talking about, I think you just brought up a line from Mr. Palmer earlier. Any other memorable lines that stood out to you?
A couple. Not I didn't pick too many.
Yeah, I didn't want to go
Um
crazy, but there's some
because
really
yeah.
strong writing in this movie.
Yes, I did. I'll do a funny one first. Eleanor says, Marianne, oh, this is when Willoughby carries her in from the rain for the first time. Says, Marianne, you must change. You will catch a cold. Marianne says, what care I for colds when there is such a man? Eleanor, you will care very much when your nose swells up. Marianne, you are right. Help me, Eleanor.
I had that one down as well.
That one made. Will you go next?
Um, one of the another funny line. Mrs. Palmer, Charlotte Palmer says, "Oh, if only this rain would stop," and Mr. Palmer responds with, "Oh, if only you would stop."
He's
Which,
so good.
yeah, he's great.
I have a funny line from Fanny. Whenever she finds out that Lucy and Edward have been engaged for 5 years and she decides to beat the shit out of Lucy, she screams, Viper in my bosom!
What a crazy scene! Like Fanny goes off in that scene.
Yeah, Viper in my bosom is there is a snake in my bra. Is it's like I'm like, what a line! Like the betrayal, the
Hmm.
fear, the frustration, the anger. I'm like, Fanny sucks, but that I'm gonna use that line.
Um, let's see here. Oh, when Marianne is sick, Colonel Brandon very desperately is like, "Give me an occupation, Miss Dashwood, or I shall run mad." Like he's so worried about her, he needs something to do, or he's going to go
Yes.
crazy.
Yeah, he's like, is there anything I can do to help? She's like, no. He's like, please.
Give me something or I will kill everybody,
Uh,
essentially.
I've got only one more, and it's Edward's profession at the end of the movie. It's I've come here with no expectations, only to profess, now that I am at liberty to do so, that my heart is and always will be yours.
Very good.
He delivers it so well.
Yeah. My next one kind of flows into our next section where I ask, biggest laugh, cry, scare, or thrill. And I think this is the scene that gave me maybe the most like feeling of like welling up or tears. And it is Marianne talking to Eleanor, and she says, always resignation and acceptance, always prudence and honor and duty. Eleanor, where is your heart? And Eleanor responds, and it is one of those moments like you see Eleanor break a couple times, like at the end of the movie, and then at this part where she's actually like, what do you know of my heart? What do you know of anything but your own suffering? For weeks, Marianne, I've had this pressing on me without being at liberty to speak of it to a single creature. It was forced on me by the very person whose prior claims ruined all my hopes. I have endured her exaltations again and again, whilst knowing myself to be divided from Edward forever. Believe me, Marianne, had I not been bound to silence, I could have provided proof enough of a broken heart even for you. And I was just like, God, that was rough, hard. That was woof.
She
That
did
was,
great.
yeah, that was a great scene. And it was nice to, see her. Like, I didn't enjoy it, but she was so good in those scenes of like breaking and finally like giving in to people and saying like what she has been wanting to say for weeks, months, years, and just never gets to it. So what about you? What are some of the things that laugh, cry, scares, thrills, anything?
I've got one laugh and one cry. So whenever, and maybe this is just me. So whenever Willoughby like gets to, when we first meet him, and and this is also kind of a quote. He gets to Marianne, and he's like, are you in? He's like, are you okay? And she's like, I think so. And he like grabs her ankle, and he's like, do I have permission to ascertain the injury? And she's just like,
Yes.
and I'm like, oh, she is turned on. Like it made me like and it's like he's like grabbing the way he's touching her. Like that's a big deal. But he's like looking for a break, and she's just like, take me. And I'm
Yes.
like that whole interaction was like, because I'm like, I just watched it flash across her face, and I was like, that was very funny to me.
Yeah. I had that written down as my biggest laugh too. Marianne
Oh, no
after she
way.
meets Willoughby. Yeah.
And then my cry was Marianne almost dying. Specifically,
had that
like
too.
you said, Emma Thompson, like Eleanor's character, having that moment where she is like begging Marianne to not die, and she like grabs her hand and kisses it over and over again, and she goes, "Do not leave me alone." And it's like, yeah, that again, you have those like miniature breaks before the big final emotional break at the end, but like that's the first time Marianne's kind of called her out on it. Her mother's kind of been like, you need to find a husband. Like this is the first time she's admitting out loud to a sleeping Marianne that she's alone in this world without her sister.
Yeah.
And you're just like, oh, like that got me.
Yeah. Marianne almost dying was also my scare/cry. So I like that too. All right. Biggest what the fuck or ridiculous moments for you?
It is when, like I mentioned it a moment ago, when Fanny, I said the bitch sister-in-law is what I wrote in my notes, dragging Lucy by her head across the room and physically fighting her when she screams "Viper in my bosom," and she finds out that her brother's been engaged to this woman that she does not deem worthy of her family. But like, I'm like, is this Bad Girls Club? Is this the Jersey Shore? Like, by her head and physically drags her. I was like, yee.
She's trying to take that wig off.
That was I didn't really have a lot of what the fuck moments.
No, the only thing that I said was ridiculous was that, when you find out the ages that they're supposed to be versus the ages of the actors, it's a little bit crazy after that point. When you find that out, but that's the most ridiculous thing I think I found in this movie.
Well, I'm like, Emma, I was like, Eleanor, like, can't be. I was like, I know she's a spinster, but like, she can't be that old because most women get married off by now. And to find out she's supposed to be 19, I'm like, Emma, I get it, but it's like when what's his name played in Dear Evan Hansen.
Oh yeah, that's
Like
bad.
supposed to be a high school kid. He's supposed to be like 16 and he's like 35.
Terrible,
Or it's
terrible
like
stuff.
watching Grease.
Best music moments or score? Did something stand out in the score to you? The score was done by Patrick Doyle. He was nominated for Best Dramatic Score. Was there any moments or anything that really stood out to you?
It's not from the score. It's when Marianne is playing the piano and singing when Colonel Brandon arrives. Like we meet, and he is just taken immediately. And she also has a lovely singing voice. Like I really liked when Marianne was singing and playing. So, but he is just like immediately drawn in. So that was my music moment.
Same. That's what I had too. The soundtrack on, like, the score was good, but it never, like, it didn't stand out in the way that I thought. That we've encountered some movies where you're just like,
Mhm.
yes, that really did it for me.
Yeah.
I thought it was fine, and I thought it, was really good background and classical music for the era and stuff. So I like that. Now it is time for our Fuck, Marry, Kill section of this. So put your FMKs in the chat, please, for us all. That would be much appreciated. This was actually requested specifically by Alyssa. She was like, you're going to do these 3 characters, and that's what we're going to say.
You don't have to, but
I
it was a
am.
good recommendation.
So the 3 characters are, pretty easy to pick out for this. And that is Edward Ferris, Colonel Brandon, and Willoughby.
Okay, so I thought this was an obvious choice, but maybe it's not. I'm killing Willoughby.
Okay.
I don't care how young and handsome he is. Well, now he's poor because we find out that he's poor, but he sucks. He's a jerk. He's gonna romance you one day and leave you the next. And he also got some girl pregnant and left her. We left that detail out. But yeah, he sucks. So I'm killing Willoughby immediately. I don't care.
Mhm.
I am I'm fucking Edward because I think he's charming and cute, but I am marrying Colonel Brandon. He is solid. I think he's like distinguished. He's like, he genuinely like loves. I'm like, I love him. I would definitely marry Colonel Brandon.
See, and that's I think that's the only one I agree with you on is marrying Colonel Brandon. I think Edward is a bit of a wet blanket. He gives me those Sirens vibes. He is going to be a preacher. He's going to be, so he's going to be, missionary
That's
positions
fair.
it.
That's fair. I just
and
hate Willoughby. I'm like,
I mean, I get it, but sometimes you got to sacrifice it for that one good lay,
I suppose.
I mean,
But
neither
yeah,
one of us are wrong here. This is our
no.
opinions.
Yes, but I do love Colonel Brandon. I love him.
Yeah, I remember you asking me this. I was like, "You're gonna with the preacher?" It's like,
Because it is also Hugh Grant. Like Hugh Grant
yeah,
is handsome, right? And I know in like the book it's more of a plain man, but I like a funny guy. I like a guy who like makes jokes and he's charming and he's cute. I like
yeah.
that.
But if I'm just effing, then
That's
it's got to
fair.
be Willoughby, and I'll take the sweep me off my feet for one night kind of thing. That's where I'm going with that one.
Mhm.
I've got Colonel Brandon locked up, so we're good there. So that was our F, Marry, Kill. Thank you so much for that. Who gave the best performance?
Emma Thompson.
Yeah, she was
There's
incredible.
no denying that. I say, yeah, I know she said like Eleanor as a character was not my favorite character as a girl, but like performance, yeah.
Yeah.
She kills it.
All right, now it is time for our 1995 recast or our 2025 recast, or we can do both. So if you would you recast any of the roles in the movie if it were made in 95 or when it was made in 95, or if they remade it in 2025?
I have a whole 2025 cast. But for 1995, I don't really I really like everyone's casting. I also do like Colin Firth as a person. So I don't know like what his age is or who he would be, but like you could throw him in there at some point.
Yeah.
But that's really all I had for 95.
Colin Firth, maybe it would have been a really good Edward, or like Ferris. Like him and
Yeah,
Hugh
he's
Grant give a little bit.
yeah, and I think he's a little more plain than
Yeah.
Hugh Grant is.
He would have been in his mid-30s at this point.
What about Jude Law?
Ooh, Jude Law. He would have been young.
Could he have been a Willoughby?
He would have been 20. He would have been 22 or 3
Oh, he would be,
at this
baby.
time. But a
Of even
Willoughby, I mean,
acting.
that's a good Willoughby, probably a young Willoughby,
Mhm.
23, 24, somewhere in there. Oh, that'd be
Mhm.
good. I only recast Margaret because we already talked about that she looked like Kirsten Dunst from both Interview with a Vampire and Little Women. So I was like, just throw Kirsten Dunst in there. She's fine.
Yeah. She
She would
was
have been
just
fun for
in
that.
Jumanji. You might as well throw her in this one too.
Right, right. The only other one was I saw this in notes that like Helena Bonham Carter was considered for this because she actually had played Emma Thompson's sister in a movie prior to this, so in like a period piece too. So I was like, oh yeah, but I think Kate Winslet was perfect. So
Yes, I agree.
what about your 2025?
So I have a couple options, and some of them I'm just like, these are just people. Like, just throw them in there. I don't know
Yeah,
who they
I
would be.
tried to do age stuff, and I was like, forget it.
And I had mentioned it before with Little Women that like it's hard to cast 2025. And Greta Gerwig, I think, did a pretty decent job with her 2019 Little Women. And I also like their chemistry. So I put Eleanor as Saoirse Ronan and Edward as Timothy Chalamet.
Oh,
Um,
I did Saoirse Ronan as Eleanor.
Did you? Okay.
Yeah.
I thought she would be a good Eleanor. She was Jo, right, in Little Women.
Mhm.
So it's like instead of like the equivalent would be the Marianne character in this movie. But I think she would be a really good. I think she'd be a really good Eleanor. And then they between Lady Bird and Little Women, they've worked together enough. So I think, and you got to put Timmy Chalamet in a period piece. It's just what you do. He looks like a dying Victorian child, but. So those are those two. I also Roger Jean Page
Mhm.
is the main guy from the first season of Bridgerton. I don't think he would be a good Edward. I think he might be a decent Willoughby.
Yeah.
But I had Jacob Elordi as Willoughby because the guy who played it in the '95 movie kind of reminded me of Jacob
Okay.
Elordi just
Okay.
by looks. So
Yeah.
there's that. Marianne, I had Lily James. Tried to go British,
Yeah.
young, pretty. And then for Brandon, Colonel Brandon, I had Daniel Radcliffe or Eddie Redmayne.
Okay. I like
Um,
that.
I tried to go a little old. Apparently, Eddie Redmayne is like 41.
Yeah,
I
he's
did not
older
know
than
that. He looks like he's 26.
you.
He just looks like he's just very
It's all
boyish.
those freckles.
It's a lot of freckles. So, but I was like, I don't really know, like, but I feel like if it, like, I was like, I don't know, how handsome do we want him to be? I like Daniel Radcliffe as a general life statement.
Yeah.
Like, I'd put him in everything. So, I'm like, put him in there.
Yeah.
But I also don't know how tall Lily James is or like how I don't know. So, because Edward or Daniel Radcliffe is a short man.
That's okay. Um,
But
I
I'll say, I don't love any of my picks. That's just, I
I
mean,
cast the short man in mine as well. So instead of Timmy Chalamet as Edward, I picked Tom Holland as Edward.
I forgot that he's British.
Yeah.
I love him.
And then going off of our Little Women Greta Gerwig thing, I said might as well put Florence Pugh in here too as Marianne. Let's just do it. Let's just line them up.
Do it up.
I picked Dan Stevens as Colonel Brandon. He's most people probably know him from Downton Abbey. He's like the main love interest for the first like 3-4 seasons of that movie, of the main, like one of the main daughters in that. I think he's in his 40s, handsome man. I think he could do it, and he kind of plays everything. So whatever. But one that I was really happy about, I like Josh O'Connor from as Willoughby. Josh O'Connor, and people will probably get sick of me and talking about challengers all the time, but Josh O'Connor is the dark-haired one in Challengers.
Ooh, he would be a good Willoughby.
Also British too, so
Mm-hmm.
we're good there.
You might be. Do you think the other guy could be a good Edward?
Maybe Mike Feist. He'd be
Mike
good.
Feist?
He's not British, but
No, but I like him.
yeah. Timmy Chalamet is not British either, so
No, but Timothy Chalamet looks like a dying Victorian child, so you put
yeah.
him in all of the period pieces.
Timothy Shallow Slay. Hey. Do you have any fun facts that you found out about this film?
I had a couple, but a chat said Elle Fanning for Eleanor, and I think that's a good call out too.
She really impressed me in the Bob Dylan movie. I liked her better than I thought. I think everybody outacted the crap out of that movie than with what it should have been or what I thought it was going to be. So Elle Fanning, yeah, she's great.
Well, one of the facts that I found out was that Emma Thompson's a dame. Like, because every time I looked up a fact, it was like Dame Emma Thompson, Dame Emma Thompson. I was like, that's cool. But with her Best Adapted Screenplay Academy Award win, Dame Emma Thompson became the first person to receive Oscars for acting and writing. So not like the first woman, like the first person to get Oscars for both. So that's pretty impressive.
That's pretty awesome. Yeah. Speaking of, she met her husband on the set of this. She's been married, I think, a couple times, but she has been with Greg Wise, who played Willoughby, for almost 20 some years now. So they actually met on this right after she had divorced Kenneth Branagh. So that's pretty cool. Her sister, Sophie Thompson, who is also in, a lot of Jane Austen adaptations, also an actress, met their husband on the set of this movie as well. The eldest, the older brother of Hugh Grant, they're married together. They're together. So.
Wild. I love finding out when actors like get married to. I'm like, who? How? Why? Yeah. I see Emma Thompson and Kate Winslet actually lived together during the shoot to help them form a natural sisterly bond. I'm like, method acting, cool.
Yeah, they're still really good friends too. Still really
yes.
close.
There was some fun facts about Emma Thompson kind of really looking after Kate Winslet, and I really liked that.
Yeah. The first draft of this screenplay was 350 handwritten pages, which is crazy. And the final draft was a culmination of that and 13 other drafts, which were written over 4.5 years. So,
wow.
Yeah. 350. I wonder what handwritten would look like for that. Like 350 pages is basically like a minute a page, or not handwritten, but typed is like a minute a page. So 350 minutes. I don't know what handwritten would be. Maybe a little bit less than a minute a page there. So
I don't know. I don't know.
So.
I got another. Sorry.
No, keep going.
Were you gonna say something? I'll say. So at the end of the movie, it's kind of unclear like what the situation is with the couples. So
yeah.
At the end of the movie, Edward and Eleanor are actually already married at this point, and Edward officiated the wedding of Colonel Brandon and Marianne, and Eleanor was Marianne's matron of honor. So I'm assuming that's way clearer in the book. But like at the end of the movie, we just have two couples, one coming out of their wedding and the other one just together, and I'm like, what happened?
Yeah.
So that was helpful.
I have two more, I think. No, I have three more. One of mine is about the Harry Potter franchise. 6 of these actors were in the Harry Potter film franchise, including Emma Thompson, who plays Professor Trelawney. Gemma Jones plays, I believe, the person in like the hospital wing of Hogwarts. Robert Hardy is Cornelius Fudge. Elizabeth Spriggs is the fat lady in the first one. Alan Rickman, of course, Snape, and Imelda Staunton as Professor Umbridge. So all of them, anytime you get a British movie together, you're bound to have everybody from a Harry Potter movie in it. So,
yeah. I've only got one more. Do you know who Stephen Fry is? Sir Stephen Fry?
Yeah. Stephen Fry. He's a comedian, writer. He's kind of done everything. He played Oscar Wilde in a movie about Oscar Wilde. He basically looks like Oscar Wilde. Him and Hugh Laurie were in a comedy duo together. A bit of Fry and Laurie. Yeah.
Okay, so while working on the script, Emma Thompson's computer developed a problem and she was unable to locate the file. So she took the computer to Sir Stephen Fry, an expert in Apple computers, who, after 7 hours, finally managed to retrieve the script. This is why Stephen is thanked in the credits by the producers.
Nice.
So that's crazy.
That is crazy.
Just like the panic that I have 7 hours of just dealing with computer issues because you lost the script. Oh my God.
The original plan for this movie was to have Natasha Richardson and her sister Jolie Richardson to play the Dashwood sisters. Natasha Richardson, you probably know her best from The Parent Trap. She's the mom in that movie. Unfortunately, she has passed away since.
Oh, yes.
But yeah, all sisters were going to play sisters in this. However, Columbia Pictures wanted Emma Thompson to play Eleanor because of her coming off of her acting Oscar win in Howard's End. And at one point, Marianne is carried by almost all of the leading men in the movie. Willoughby, Colonel Brandon, and Mr. Palmer all carry her at some point during the movie.
You're right.
And that is all the fun facts I have for this. So let's move on to our movie pairing. So, like a fine wine and dish, if you could pair this movie with another movie for a double feature, what would you choose?
We've mentioned all of them at some point during this show. So, Pride and Prejudice, again, another Jane Austen, which either version is fine. Little Women. I said there's so many parallels between Little Women and Sense and Sensibility. The sisters. I said, if Meg was the main character, that's what this story is. Even the ball was similar, and there's so many parallels. So Little Women, specifically the '94 version, and really Remains of the Day, another parlor drama with Emma Thompson being awesome. We loved Remains of the Day. That was great. So those were my three.
I took Pride and Prejudice, Little Women. They were on my list as well. I went with another Jane Austen movie. We're not covering it this year, but there was another Jane Austen adaptation film this year based on Persuasion. I had not seen it, but Emma Thompson's sister is in that one. Sophie Thompson. The other one I said was Howard's End because I just mentioned that. And Emma Thompson's in that movie, Anthony Hopkins, Helena Bonham Carter, another kind of one of these types of movies. And then Mansfield Park is another one. I think that comes out in 2000, another Jane Austen adaptation that's well loved. So if you just pick a Jane Austen movie and you're bound to be good or happy with it.
Yeah.
So. All right. Well, let's talk about rewatchability. On a scale of 1 to 5, how likely are you to rewatch this movie?
I want to give it a 4. I do feel like this is one of those movies where the more I would watch it, the less I would want to rewatch it. Because it's good and I would like to watch it again. But I don't know, in terms of the longevity of it. So I'm right now it'll be a 4, and then after the next time might be a 3.5. And so that's my thought process on that.
No, I get it. I picked a 4 as well. And I kind of see where you're at too. Similarly with Little Women, I kind of want to see another adaptation of this. I want to see what a different one looks like. And just like I watched Little Women and it made me want to watch Little Women, the Greta Gerwig version, and maybe even go back and watch the original, the first one that Hollywood made. So I get what you're saying there too. It would lessen a little bit, but rate the film on a overall rating from 1 to 5 stars.
I'm kind of between a 4.5 and a 5.
Yeah.
I feel like that extra half star is if I wanted to rewatch this over and over again. Because that's kind of part of me giving it a 5-star rating is I want to, but I don't want to watch this over and over again. I want to watch it again, but I think the acting is superb. The story is superb. The 2 hours flew by. I was captivated. I enjoyed it. All of the characters were so fun. They all have such interesting personalities. It did have a plot. It wasn't boring. There was so much to it. And again, it just kind of reminded me how awesome Emma Thompson is. So I'm sticking with the 4.5, I think.
I went with a 4.5 as well. I do have a question for you.
Okay.
Before we end things today, do you think it might have been a more rewatchable or even a half-star bump if the Emma Thompson character ends up with Colonel Brandon?
That was our alternative ending, because I was like, there is no way that Edward comes back after this. I don't even know if Eleanor would want Edward after this. And to see with Colonel Brandon and Mary Ann, it almost feels like a consolation prize. I do think she deeply cares about him, but she was so obsessed with Willoughby. It's just is this okay? Do you want to do this? And he did. So I genuinely thought that Eleanor and Colonel Brandon might end up together at the end. Because again, I didn't know what the plot was.
Well, their maturity lasted a little bit,
They had a good friendship.
Yeah.
I think it could have worked out. I do.
I agree with you. I'm not mad with the ending at all. I understand, but I agree with you. Like, it did feel a little bit like a consolation prize,
Yes,
for
and it
Marianne,
also
and
was. It's those. It's I do like a little bit of mess, like and the ending is tied up in a bow, right? Everybody gets their man, and everybody is okay financially. And I also didn't like this is one thing I actually didn't like that at the end of the movie, Willoughby was staring off into the distance and crying in the rain when Marianne got married. I was like, I don't care about him.
yeah,
He's got like I don't need to know that he's suffering. I don't care. So that's what I was kind of like, that's not necessary. But it was like, yeah, like the bad guy gets his, and Fanny sucks, and everyone sucks, but the main characters get all their awesomeness, and it's like it's a little too perfect. But again, that's the book. I'm not arguing with Jane
right,
Austen.
right.
I would say I would not be opposed if Eleanor and Colonel Brandon got together in the end. I don't know if that would bump it up to 5 stars for me. But I was kind of thinking that was what was going to happen.
Well, sometimes I think that's that is the fine line between like, especially when we talk about rewatchability. You want something that's comfortable. You want something that's going to make you happy in the end. And like, this movie does make me happy. Eleanor does end up with Edward, and Colonel Brandon sees happiness as well, and Marianne is happy and she lives and all that stuff. But like, my two favorite characters in the movie are Colonel Brandon and Eleanor. How great would it be if they somehow, it just seems like it was written in a way that they could have ended up together. And maybe that's more of a blanket that I would love to put over me, and watch that over and over again, eating popcorn or bonbons or whatever it is
Yes,
I'll be eating at
bonbons.
the time.
And like we keep saying Colonel Brandon's a candle. Like Emma Thompson deserves a candle. Like
Yeah.
Eleanor deserves consistency and comfort, and because she doesn't have that. And she wants it from Edward, and Edward wants it from her, but like the there is the matching of duty, right? That Eleanor's character is all about duty and honor, and Edward's character too is about duty and honor. He was gonna marry that woman
Mhm.
if Lucy didn't break up with him first. So I'm like, I mean, I get it. I get why Eleanor's happy that Edward's not married and that he came crawling back to her, and it was out of honor and duty that he was gonna stay with his fiance. But I'm like, yeah, that's still as this again, it's consolation prizey.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I don't want anybody in this movie to have a consolation prize. I want them to do like as I want happiness.
Yeah, I want people to fall, like, be in love and, go with their heart and do all those things, but
Mm-hmm.
different time, different strokes for different folks,
Mm-hmm.
honor, gotta honor it. Well, Alyssa, we did it. Thank you so much for watching Sense and Sensibility with me and kicking off our Oscar month. Before we wrap up, have you watched anything recently that you wanted to talk about, or say, hey, that was a good movie or good music or anything?
So the only thing that I've watched recently is The Emperor's New Groove. I also did watch House Guest, which was talked about this past Wednesday on the pod, and I enjoyed it. I did have a fun time watching House Guest, but The Emperor's New Groove is one of my like all-time favorite movies. Growing up as a kid, it's one of my family's favorite movies. I forgot how quotable it was, or how many quotes have stuck with me since seeing it 25 years ago. Love it. Um, I also, and this is more so on the docket, I wanted to rewatch The Emperor's New Groove before I watch the documentary about The Emperor's New Groove called The Sweatbox. So that's not, I haven't watched that yet, but I wanted to rewatch it before seeing the documentary about the making of The Emperor's New Groove and how Disney has tried to bury that shit for years. And they don't acknowledge that The Emperor's New Groove is something that they made, and they're like embarrassed by it. And I'm like, this movie is gold. But it was apparently a very tumultuous creation process and went through a lot of renditions, and they just were like, put it out and then forget about it. So I gotta watch that documentary. So
Yeah.
that's all I got. So if someone out there has seen The Emperor's New Groove and didn't know that the documentary exists, it's on YouTube. It's only an hour long. So that's my recommendation.
Very cool. Yeah, this is the first time I watched Emperor's New Groove, and I enjoyed it. I had a good time with it. It was very funny. The voice acting's incredible. It's weird that Disney would want to bury something like this. Seems like a very simple, like, simple movie with some,
Do you want some
decent
fun facts?
animation. I mean, for another time. Let's save it for another time.
Fine.
People can watch the documentary. I'm sure there's more fun facts in there about that.
Mhm.
But that was the first time I'd watched that, and I enjoyed that. Also, I've been trying to catch up with some of the Oscar movies that we'll find out more about tonight here in about 6 minutes. But I really enjoyed a Complete Unknown. I said I was surprised by how much I liked it, the Bob Dylan biopic. And so I really enjoyed that. Honora kind of blew me away once I finally sat down to watch it. And honestly, if it wins Best Picture tonight, I think I'd be pretty happy with that. Having watched 8 out of 10 of them, I didn't get to see The Brutalist or I'm Still Here, which one was a little bit more difficult to see and catch. So I haven't checked that out. But those are the only things that I have seen recently, other than the movies that I have been watching. So that's it, and that's all. But of course, you can get that information and more information by joining our Discord server. And you're always welcome to follow us on Instagram or check out my Letterboxd as well. Those, I believe, were listed earlier in the chat. Maybe that works, maybe that doesn't. But you can obviously look at the Discord link there by clicking on that if you want to join up. Sunday, March 9th, we're going to continue this theme of And the Oscars Goes To, where we'll be talking about the 5 films nominated for Best Picture at the 1996 Oscars. We'll be talking about that talking pig Babe next week, so join us then. This month, we are doing a new extra credit theme called Who Run the World, which are all films by women, about women, and for women, like Waiting to Exhale, The Incredibly True Story of Two Girls in Love, How to Make an American Quilt, and Boys on the Side. That pod will be on March 26th at Wednesday, March 26th at 6 p.m. And then, of course, Alyssa is hosting 52/1995 Music every Tuesday. So join us Tuesday for that at 6 p.m. This week's album is Smokey Joe's Cafe, which is a Broadway musical. So check that out and check us out whenever you want on that. But other than that, thank you so much for tuning in. We'll see you next time on 52